So Andrew Tate seems to be making mad a lot of the Muslims lately. Andrew Tate, of course, converted to Islam. And the reason why he gave for his conversion to Islam is because Islam is a man's religion, he will say. They have standards. And he critiques Western Christianity. Andrew Tate does. And he says, look at them. They're letting men into women's bathrooms. They're putting pride flags in front of their churches. They have no standards. They have no morals. This is the sort of stuff Andrew Tate likes to critique Christianity as. But it's an unfair categorization because, of course, not every church, and definitely not Orthodoxy. And I don't know if Andrew Tate even knows about Orthodoxy, but if we can kind of examine Andrew Tate, what I think a lot of his motivation also is the fact that he has 4 or 5 women who he's had children with. And so something like that is a bit more compatible with Islam. So I think for him, it's a bit more of a practical concern than it is a concern for figuring out what's really true. And so, it's a bit of a predicament for him. I don't know if Andrew Tate converted to Islam because he thought it would be good for his brand. But this isn't something that would necessarily surprise me. Andrew Tate is someone who is very concerned with material wealth and affluence and power. And so it's not far-fetched to think that he will make decisions like this in order to kind of facilitate and prop up his brand. And so unless Andrew Tate gets to a position where he really wants to discover the truth, I don't think he's going to be attracted to Orthodoxy, because Orthodoxy, it is the truth, and it's a lot smaller numerically to find than the mainstream Protestant denominations or a more global religion, or not, I shouldn't say global, but a faster spreading religion like Islam. But if he does do that, if he does decide that he has an interest in the truth and figuring out what the truth is, what he will find is that these sort of complaints he had about some of the Protestant denominations and some of the Protestant parishes isn't the case in Orthodoxy. What he will find is that there is no allowance for men and women's bathrooms. There are no pride flags. All of the complaints that he had about Christianity don't exist in Orthodoxy, but then that still leaves the dilemma of the 4 or 5 women whom he had children with. Well, lots of saints have had a past. You have St. Augustine, who clearly had a past and had a child out of wedlock before he became St. Augustine. And you have a saint like St. Moses the Black in the Orthodox tradition, who was literally a gangster. He was a murderer and a grape IST, and he went around and he literally was doing the worst at the worst. But then he became the great Saint Moses the Strong, and he joined the monastery and became a great teacher. So to cling to a past like that's redeemable. It's just a matter of whether or not Andrew Tate is going to have an interest in knowing what the truth is. Not just because it's useful, not just because it's convenient, but because it's true. And then pursuing that. And if he does that genuinely, like Jesus says, if you seek, you shall find.